Then we will start with painting the sea. We will use primarily two colors. We're going to use bright aqua green and ultramarine blue. So that's the project going forward. We have completed the beach painting, or rather the entire modeling itself. So now we are just getting prepared to pour the water gloss. The entire module is now painted. As you can see, we did multiple coats of the sand gel as well as the titanium white paint. We didn't really mix anything with the paint, just apply directly on the sand. So it's a very smooth texture on the sand. It looks almost as if there is no texture at all unless you look very closely. We have added the details that are required before pouring water. So we've got one in scale size wise pretty big rotten log. We have got the boat tied to another dead branch, and that's all basically what is required before pouring the water. Everything else can be done after the water is done. So that's where we are now. We are just getting ready to pour in the gloss, so we will continue putting the masking tapes, and once done we will start pouring the gel. Well, the base coat of the first coat of water is all set now. So after about 48 hours of drying time, so you can see it has produced a very nice glossy glass-like surface on top, and it actually extends all the way to the beach. And close up you can actually see the exact texture, and I'm really happy about it. The way the exact texture of sand underneath water has come in this area and around the beach. So the next step is for us to start creating the waves, and this particular scene is this is at low tide. This is a very calm weather, very calm water. So don't expect anything dramatic. It's just going to be exactly what it should be. So small waves, exactly the way you see in Caribbean beaches in a normal day. And what we are going to use for the wave, or rather the wavelets around the beach is something that you're already familiar with if you are watching this build thread or the build log, is natural sand texture gel. So we are going to apply that to create the mix of sand and water in those small wavelets on the beach as we see. When you come back to clear water, we are going to use the super heavy gel, or we are going to use the medium gloss gel from time to time, depending on the size of the wave that we are going to create. So for application, we are going to use this particular tool, which is basically a palette knife that artists use, and most importantly, trusted fingers. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm doing here is that, as you can see, this part of the water, and in the beginning, it's the receding water from the beach meeting the water that is coming on from the sea or the far end of the beach, and creating these small wavelets. So just, and given we don't have a lot of space here, it's a little tricky, so I'm just wiggling this tool, the knife here, to create those small waves and lifting them to create those small peaks. Of course, I'm very grateful to the video of eminent painter and model railroader Charles Kirk for this technique. And if he ever finds this video, then thank you, sir, for teaching me this particular technique. This is really one of the best ways to model water. That I'll be using the sand texture to simulate a mix of sand and water. The waves are not always in the same place. It has to be distributed over the beach, because it doesn't really, waves are not formed uniformly across the beach at the same time, right? So one of the important factors is that the orientation of the wave. So as you can see, the way I have imagined this model is that the wind is blowing from the right hand side, or the side of the schooner, and the waves, and we have a channel in between. So these tiny wavelets need to have a proper orientation as per that. So that's what I'm trying to achieve here, and that's why you don't see an arc, nice arc coming with the waves. There's a little bit of agitation in the water, or they're not necessarily uniformly, the waves are not necessarily uniformly distributed, and they're small in nature. We have the the edge of the waves that basically it is a mix of sand and water that is done. Now we are going to start with the actual wave of the sea, and it is going to be throughout the rest of the module. So we'll start with gloss gel, medium weight gloss gel for the waves on the beach, and we will see if we require the heavy gel at any point of time. we'll take a decision at that time. And this pulls, and depending on the angle, shows the level of agitation or the size of the waves. So here it's still pretty calm actually, considering this is 1:72 scale. This is what, not even max wave height so far is being just one 12 inches, 12 to 15 inches. That's really nothing. Once the gel dried, this is how the beach looked. I loved the effect of a mixture of sand and water and the nice wavelets there. However, I was not happy with the overall effect of the diorama. The transition from the shallow to deep water was very sharp, and the color did not really suit. So I decided to go ahead and remove the entire deep water and a part of shallow water and redo the whole thing. Since I used PVC board, it wasn't very difficult to remove the entire gel and the acrylic paint underneath. Once the gel and paint was removed, I repainted the baseboard with a much more realistic color and provided a better and smooth transition from shallow to deep water. Then I used the same technique as described before to create the waves using medium and heavy gel. This is the final result. As you can see, it looks much better than the original one